There we are. Sorry for the delay. It happens. These things happen. Mostly my fault because I've been very busy this today. I was literally up turning my bed and cleaning up because tomorrow I'm getting new mattresses. So
Ooh,
there you go.
fun.
Welcome back to Lesson Learn Podcast. We're going to be talking a little bit about E3 and some other wacky news that have been going on this week and last week. Um, so I think this is not going to be a full breakdown of E3. More going to be like our opinions of it and what is it and what happened and some highlights. But it's, there's a ton of shows out there who already done the, E3 was so and so. So we're just going to give you a little bit of our own take on it, and that's going to be it. So let's start with some news, shall we? Um, let's start with our favorite CEO, gaming CEO, uh, Randy Pitchford. This happens. This is a link to GameDaily.biz. Former Gearbox employee provides proof that Randy Pitchford diverted funds to personal company. Um, Essentially, Randy Pitchford has a couple of lawsuits that he's been involved in, and one of them is essentially, hey, there was money that should have gone to bonuses and other compensation for the employees, and instead was diverted to another company who is wholly
Yeah.
owned by Randy Pitchford. And this was a suit filed by Wade Callender or Calendar. I'm not really sure. Uh, I mean, this isn't the discovery phase and filings and all that, so it's something that would have to be proved. It's on many allegations, including the suit indicates that Pitcher siphoned 12 million in Borderlands bonuses intended for the studio. At the time this came to light, January 2019, Gearbox vehemently denied the entirety of Calendar's accusations. And this is a statement to Kotaku. The allegations about this by a disgruntled former employee, that they love that word, at least Randy does, are absurd with no basis in reality or law, the studio told Kotaku. We look forward to addressing this meritless lawsuit in court and have no further comment at this time. Well,
Hmm.
and it talks about the lawsuit itself. There is a sort of caveat by way again of Jim Sterling, who was a person that sort of highlighted this. Is that here's the link, by the way, if people want to know. In that it could be a situation of just corporate malfeasance. In other words, just a screw up in the way this was handled, as opposed to um, an act of theft, outright
Yeah.
theft. But even then, even if it's malfeasance, even if it can be also be sued. It could be a suable offense. So we'll see how that goes. But again, it's another situation about Randy Pitchford and, well,
It
not
just
quite doing
it
things
just
right.
yeah, it just makes the company, it makes him look bad, which therefore makes the company look bad, especially since he's co-owner of it. It seems like he's just doing these shady dealings in the background, which is a bad look. Even if it's technically legal, like
hmm
it's still a bad look.
Yeah, there's a reason why companies have ethics departments, which is a good segue to our next story. To do with Square Enix, and this comes from Eurogamer. Square Enix has an ethics department, and it told the Final Fantasy VII remake developer to restrict Tifa's chest. Essentially, boils down to, hey, listen, um, it's okay that the original 1990s, late 1990s game had big boobs because reasons, and most of it was because of the sort of triangular boobs that you would find in the original Tomb Raider. But you know
Yeah.
what? This is more hyper realistic. You're going for more, life like this, and we want to make this game is basically aimed at the West as well. So you don't have to make her flat chested, but just sort of just so it doesn't look like every time she walks, she smacks her face with her own boobs, right? Can we do that? And it's like, and of course there was the usual reactions of like, oh, you're like censoring the thing and stuff like that. This is according to one of the designers, Nomura. It was necessary to restrict her chest. For the devils, modernizing Tifa's design meant creating an athletic look, complete with abs, while returning her iconic white tank top and black miniskirt outfit. But as the ethics department pointed out, Tifa shouldn't look unnatural during action scenes, so her chest was restricted. This resulted in a black underwear and fitted tank top to the remake. I mean, she's also a character that does a lot of jumping and punching. So, I mean, yeah, it's changes to happen, right? I'm not a little fuss about it. I'm sure there's plenty of porn out there people who haven't really created porn out of Tifa that will certainly want to correct her chest and go back again and make it.
And believe me, it's like it's just.
Yeah.
I've always kind of like, wow, like how does those get in the way of her? Don't get in the way when she's trying to throw a punch.
Or maybe she's just wearing a better sports bra. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
probably she has better support. Just give me a moment.
Oh, it's like I don't see anyone like arguing about like any kind of like, oh,
sorry, I left the door open to let air in, and of course the roommate just came in, so I just got interrupted. So yeah, I mean, it's just she should be, and she actually like wearing like bike shorts and stuff like that. Again, you know, it's kind of thing that's a bit sensible, you know.
And yeah, like I don't see why, if say, maybe like hyper masculine men were kind of toned down to look more realistic, I don't think a lot of people would be complaining as well.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if there was some character like that had like a well-known huge bulge that was unrealistic and they just kind of toned it down a little, it's like I don't think a lot of people would be crying censorship.
Yeah. But on that same note, Mike Pondsmith, this is from PC Gamer, defends 2077 from post E3 criticism. Essentially, he said it on an article by responding to an article, Rock Paper Shotgun, especially some concern about trans representation, right? The criticism attracted the attention of Mike Pondsmith, creator of Cyberpunk RPG, and his game, his base. If I wasn't heavily, I would not be able to get more done. I said, it's barely have a life. As for the animals, the whole freaking point is that they think of themselves as powerful, dangerous animals. The thought of the lady named Sasquatch would have given them clue.
Yeah, so I watched a video of Yang Ya talking about this topic yesterday, and a lot of it does come off as like essentially white people being offended for minority groups. And especially when first off, the creator of Cyberpunk, the original tabletop, is African American, I believe.
Yeah, he is Mike Pondsmith, and which is a lot of people don't know.
Because he didn't find it offensive, and if anything, Yang Ya interviewed him at E3 this year, and he was like, "Oh my god, like I'm so glad about like the Haitian representation in this game. Like it's so rare to see. It's like you see like their dialogue and stuff," and he was proud of it. And there were some videos, people tweeting of like Haitian descent. They're like, "Oh my god, like that's awesome. There's like representation of us."
Yeah,
and,
I
like,
mean,
of if oh, you're at like a evil gang, it's like there's some culture there.
Yeah, I think one of the things. First of all, the game hasn't come out, so you can't criticizing something that is not really there,
or and necessarily praising it too, because you don't know the full extent of the representation, whether how accurate it is or not.
There's also a couple of things. I think Mike Pondsmith is a fairly conservative player. He's someone who himself has not expressed himself that he has suffered from a lot of racism in the tabletop community, right? Which is generally has been pretty white even to this day. If you look at a lot of people who play TV on Twitch and stuff like that, it's there's some shows that really try to make some change, but it's a pretty white community, right? And the games themselves and stuff like that. Second, I think there's a misconstruction about what Cyberpunk 2077 is supposed to be. Good or bad, I'm not making a value judgment, but CP 2077 is bringing to life in a video game the Cyberpunk game, the tabletop RPG from the 1980s. So we're Cyberpunk, then Cyberpunk 2020, and all that. It's not attempting to be a cyberpunk game in the meta sense, right? In the sort of 20, 30, 40 years that that term has existed. And the genre, especially ironically in the 1990s. That doesn't mean it's free from criticism. It's just, the reality of what is being attempted. So that's a frame of mind. It could be that, yeah, it still doesn't hold up to criticism. Okay, fair enough. And so we have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a point of reference. And also, yeah, I guess you have to be careful not to be offended on behalf of other people. You know, a little bit of, I hate to use the term, but it's a term. It's a reason why the term exists. A little bit of white knighting can get you into a lot of trouble, right? You mean well, but it can overstep. So I guess I will wait for the game until such a time as that. If it's criticism is valid, then it's valid, and we go from there.
I mean, the other one was the trans thing, and I personally, so I first heard about it listening to the Podquisition. Laura mentioned about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, like this is me not having seen anything of it. And then it wasn't until I saw Yan's video where he mentioned they saw the image. I'm like, what? Like that I don't see what anyone like what Laura as a trans woman saw. Like the image I had painted in my head from listening to her discuss it, I would have thought like I I was picturing, something traditionally feminine, long hair, pretty, and maybe like a bikini with like, boobies, and then like a really tight, like one piece, like speedo with a huge bulge or something. Like mix it up. It's like maybe like that, but like I thought the image was modest. I couldn't even see really much of a bulge to me anyways. I mean, maybe that's my perspective. I personally didn't see anything to be offended about. And but far be it for me to tell anybody in the trans community or anyone else for that matter to be offended of what that their feelings are invalid or that they're jumping to conclusions.
Hmm. Again, yeah. I mean, this is, uh, and by the way, that's another thing is that, uh, because all this comes in the in the weight of um statements that were made by CD Projekt Red's public, public
Twitter's.
account that
Yeah.
we're clearly transphobic. And now, and also CD Projekt Red said, no, you know what? If you're going to create your character, it's not going to be limited by gender.
Hmm.
So there's that. I mean,
Yeah.
this is going to be a thing, right? It's going to be a thing, and it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to say the least to keep an eye
Yeah,
on.
granted, the thing that I really would have to criticize CD Projekt Red on is the marketing for
Hmm.
for Cyberpunk is that it seems like it focuses all primarily on um a male protagonist, like a chosen male protagonist. That's all I've ever seen is just the male. The box cover has the protagonist being male. The the collector's edition figurine is the male. It's
Hmm.
like if you can be a female, how come you don't see like very equal? I know there was a gameplay demo that had like I guess they switched like different loadouts, and the second loadout was a female version of the character. But like you sure are pushing it. Like it would have been neat to see a decidedly like front view of a character on the box art that was like very decidedly ambiguously gender and be
Yeah.
like could be a guy, could be a girl, could be neither, could be both.
Yeah.
Mm, it's up to your
Also, I think
interpretation.
they decided that most of the times they show the female character, at least the ones I've seen, basically she's wearing like underwear. She's in underwear and stuff like that. Oops, chair time. and and the guy is basically just walking around with his guns and his jacket and whatever. So again,
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're the most progressive of companies.
they no, they're not. And yes, yeah,
They're
we're talking
no.
about that, Anna. Sorry about
It's
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think they're a BioWare, even though I know we've discussed like how their representation is not that great either, not
Hmm.
100% on point at the time, but
Hmm.
they're definitely probably better than CD Project Red.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of room to improvement, certainly. Moving on, we have, and I think Anna might be interested in this. Elon Musk refuses to credit Near Automata fan artist for some reason.
What?
Basically, Elon Musk has been on a gaming kick of late on Twitter, trying to, I guess, be like hip and something like that. And so he tweeted an image, a fan image of 2B, the main one of the main characters of Nier Automata. Like, oh, this is a great thing. And then he said, but he never credited the artist.
Hmm.
And so there was a bit of a backlash. Like, hey, listen, come on, this is not your art. Just putting someone said, hey, listen, this is easily findable. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna delete my Twitter and all of that.
Elon Musk. Ugh.
Yeah. So, and I know, but it's just one of those things that's gaming related. It's sort of like that. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about woke companies. Like, yeah, you're not that woke, and no, you're not that hip either. So stop trying to be hip, Elon. You're already low as it is, right? It's going to Joe Rogan's show and smoking pot didn't do it for you, then this is not gonna help. Just putting it out there. It's like, yeah, and you credit the artist, especially you're a multi-billionaire. Come on.
Yeah, especially when you got like all those followers,
Hmm.
probably. Oh, this one I see. Oh, that is a very nice picture.
It is a striking picture. It's sort of the cherry red lips, and it's actually called red lips. Uh, he liked it, and if it was like, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I made that mistake myself, right? And been called out, and I was like, okay, I'll rectify it. But otherwise, is nope. Moving on to, shall we say,
Oh wow. Oh wow.
yeah,
The response from Elon Musk, I'm sorry, that's terrible.
yeah, because it's, I guess his last name is not Musk for nothing. Moving on happier news, I suppose. So people who were waiting for WoW Classic to return, it returns today on June 19. If you have an active subscription, so you can go back to the basics. It's a
Back in
stress.
time.
It's a stress test, but if you have an active account, you can check it out, and you can download yesterday and activate it today. So essentially, this has been a thing that happened with World of Warcraft for a while. A lot of people have been. There were a couple of servers that were classic servers that were, I guess, pirate servers. People were sort of emulating the game,
Mhm.
and Blizzard said nope, cease and desist. Like, okay, fine, Blizzard. If we can't do it ourselves, are you gonna do it? And they were like, yeah, no, maybe, sure, we're gonna do it. And so they're now doing it. We're about to see um what it is exactly, and essentially, it, as far as I know, they simply just roll back the clock to 2006, 2007. Like, it's just WoW Classic with very few of the features that come after. None of the new expansions, none of the new lands, stuff like that. It's still, you have to pay for it. It's just, it's a monthly fee because World of Warcraft is still big enough that it can demand money, people's money, and people are willing to pay it. And that's it. And I for one, I left World of Warcraft. Just a moment.
My history with World of Warcraft. I started playing it in college, I think. It was around the time of the Burning Crusades, whenever that was. And I mean, it was fun up to a certain point, but seeing as someone who likes to play by myself, I hit that roadblock where I sort of need to find people to progress in quests and stuff. And I, since my builds weren't specialized in any kind of way, I found a decidedly kind of run into like people not wanting to play with me because my
Sorry
builds
about
weren't
that,
optimized.
folks.
Oh, you're back.
Sorry.
Just talking into the void about my experience. Wow.
Oh man, sorry I leave you hanging like that. Yeah, well, I played it. I was an avid player when I was playing back in the day for about 3 years straight, right?
I think I
But
played it for like a year.
but after a while, I just got tired of it. I just was like, there's really nothing more for me to see, and because I really was more solo play. I was in guilds, but I was more like, okay, I want to see what's on the other side of this mountain range or whatever, and that's why I played. And after I played on Alliance, and then I played Horde, and I saw all the starting zones and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I've done most of the quest anyway, so a couple of expansions, and that was it.
Yeah, I played it for about a year. My cousin, my husband, have been pretty much playing it since it launched, and like on and off. They don't
Mhm.
play it like every single month, but they said they weren't interested, and they were nerding it up the other night, talking to each other about like, oh, they're bringing back this, and remember this time, and it was kind of entertaining listening to them nerd it up.
Mhm. In some other old game news, Alpha Protocol has been removed from Steam.
Hmm.
Um, no reason given. Well, yeah. Following the expiry of Sega's publishing rights for Alpha Protocol, the title has been removed from Steam and is no longer on sale. If you own Alpha Protocol, you'll be able to play it, and you keep being able to download whenever you want. You never picked up the same. How will you find it in other ways? So in other words, yeah, this is what happens about digital distribution. Another example of things changing overnight. You know,
It's just gone, huh?
if you didn't get it,
I
whoops.
wonder. I guess maybe Sega lost the publishing rights,
Yeah,
or
that's what
like the
happened. It expired.
licensing
Yeah.
expired between them and Obsidian.
hmm and now that Obsidian is owned by another company, I guess they might republish it.
Hmm.
But will they make it now a Epic Store exclusive? Yeah, that's not. Let me see other pieces of news that are we're skirting around E3. I talked to E3, which were pretty short. Of course, we talk about Baldur's Gate 3. It's been announced. We'll talk about it in E3. And there will be some changes for people who want to know. I'll link to put the link below in the chat so that you guys can see it. So if you're interested in the changes that will be both mechanically to Baldur's Gate and also the 5th edition version of the Ranger, for example, you can check it out. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which was a Castlevania inspired. That is essentially it's Castlevania without the name Castlevania. And it was crowd funded. Is out, and it has gotten good reviews, which is good because crowdfunding has been a bit of a problem as of late. With a lot of projects not meeting expectations.
Yeah, or especially sort of kind of betraying their Kickstarter their backers.
Such as going to the Epic exclusivity and the like. So yeah. Now I think we're starting getting into the E3 news, so we're gonna sort of. I want to read this because I believe. Let me see. Yes, 2 hours ago. And this is not a joke. This is not a Hard Times article or The Onion. This is from PC Games N. EA, they're not loot boxes. They're surprise mechanics, and they're quite ethical. This is EA defending Battlefront 2 style loot boxes. Kerry Hopkins, EA's VP of Legal and Government Affairs, insists that the company's randomized purchase are loot boxes, rather surprise mechanics. In an oral evidence session with the UK Parliament's Digital, Culture, Media and Sports Committee, Hopkins compared the mechanics to surprise toys, which have been around for years, whether it's Kinder Eggs or Hatchimals or LOL Surprise. This is gonna be the thumbnail for the video on YouTube. Okay, it's gonna be like, what? What we got? What, mate? Are you kidding me, mate? What? No, it isn't. No, you see. Let me explain something to you. Loot boxes. It's just the thing. When you buy a Kinder Egg or any of these things, you buy them because it has chocolate. You get chocolate, right? The thing that you get extra with it, it's like, oh, it's an extra surprise, right?
That's a little toy.
Yeah, and it's actually a physical copy thing, and it's a thing you have.
Hmm.
Microtransactions and things you buy exclusively for for what you can get in the loot box, which is randomized. So you pay money hoping that you get what you're gonna get, right?
Yeah.
Rather than that you want to get, rather than paying outright for it, which is the right thing. It's like saying that it's a Kinder Egg. Okay, I pay to random to see if I actually get chocolate in my Kinder Egg
Yeah.
or vanilla or whatever.
And
It's like it's just
and
random.
of course, if Kinder Egg like went out of business and they're not going to come to your house and take the little crappy toy that was in the chocolate like off your shelf, like, nope, can't have that. We went out of business. We got to destroy it now. You'd have
Yeah,
no access to it. Cut your access to enjoy that little crappy toy on your shelf.
yeah, that's on PC games, and it's not, it's well, it's a parody of itself. It's like satire is dead and all that. I'm like, yeah, EA, no, no. So now we're getting closer and closer to let's just jump right in because we don't have really a lot of time. We're a little bit delayed. Uh, let's start with Nintendo. Nintendo market value dropped by 1 billion after Animal Crossing Switch delay. Essentially, during E3 Direct's Nintendo presentation, one of the things it said was that Animal Crossing New Horizons would be delayed, and one of the reasons that was given for that delay was that we don't want to exploit our workers, and this comes from a Japanese company, by the way.
Hmm.
Let me clue you in a Japanese worker ethic. The term salaryman or salaryman, which is an English word, created by the Japanese to describe people who work from like 8 in the morning to nearly midnight and never see their families most of the week, of all the week, right? And burn themselves out, right? If they're telling you, the Japanese company saying, we want to delay this game because we don't want to burn out our employees due to crunch, you know that they really don't want to do it. Something that's, one could argue that in Japanese culture, kind of crunch is sort of not crunch, but overwork by American standards at least is baked into it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if they're saying, you know what, even under those standards, we're not want to, further hinder our employees, let's not do that. There were other factors as well. The article calls the fact that there wasn't any things talking about cloud based gaming technology, which other rivals like Sony, well, Sony wasn't there, but Microsoft certainly talked it up. No Switch model, which was expected this year, sort of a mini Switch. And no major collaboration with Microsoft and other things could also hurt the stock. But losing $1 billion worth of stock, it's still a lot of money and devaluation. So yeah. Well, 3.53% to be and Nintendo stocks have been taking some hits as sort of, after the high of the Switch release, and then it's like, maybe this is not that hard as we thought it was.
I'm kind of wondering if this is gonna pay off in the long run in terms of like brand loyalty.
Mm-hmm. I think it might. I think a lot of players are willing to wait. I mean, this is the kind of people who have played like 15 or 25 different Mario games in the last 30 years or so. 17 Zelda games, right? Which is the Heroes Always Link, but there you go. I mean, I don't think that's really going to affect brand loyalty a lot, right? People who want to play will wait. They will wait. They have their Switches. I think what happening is, from the stockholders, is like, you're not pumping them out quick enough, right? You're not giving me the goods on a constant basis, and if not, then that means you're losing money or you're not making money for me. Come on, make money for me. I don't care about crunch. Just make me the money, right? And I think that's what it is, right? I don't think it's gonna really suffer at all. Not a game like that has a very solid fan base, and so that's just it is. And continuing on E3 stuff, Phil Spencer on Xbox initial strategy working with Sony and more. That's also from Kotaku. Essentially is a discussion, and now that we're in E3, one of the things that because Sony wasn't there, Microsoft sort of was able to really take the space, and we've seen this before. Yes, there's going to be a new console on 2020. They announced that. They didn't announce the specific name of it, which
It's Project Scarlet, I think,
yeah,
wasn't
they
it?
didn't. Normally, they would have said this is what's going to happen. Well, they're probably going to next E3. They're going to give us the name, which is probably going to be Xbox Triple X Box X or something, Square or something. They're going to just add more X's to it, because that's how they name things nowadays, I suppose. Or just Xbox. We go all the way around to just calling our box the Xbox, just like the original. I would not be surprised if that actually happens, by the way,
Hmm.
because but yeah, we have this, and their strategy is essentially we're gonna play nice with everybody. We're going fully digital. We're probably gonna have a box that has gonna be two options. We're gonna be cloud gaming. Your box is gonna be more of a streaming box, right? It's gonna be like the cable box for gaming, rather
Yeah.
than the like a player of games, like I don't know, music player or something like that. And and having as wide points of contact, I think is interesting, because I think this is sort of the thing that they're breaking. What makes it interesting, I think they're to a degree they're breaking away from the idea of the closed box, right? Of consoles, like a console is you go to that and everything has to be through that and our services and stuff like that. It hasn't really worked for them. And then, well, if that doesn't working for us, then let's turn it more like a PC, but stripped down for gaming, right? Like, this is your connection to the Microsoft universe, and that includes playing games on Steam and getting things on Nintendo, which we've done things in the past. And if Sony wants to jump in, we can do that as well, right? The evolution of making the Xbox, when the Xbox One came out, was supposed to be the entertainment box, all in one cable box.
And it sort of
Netflix and all that.
backfired on them.
Now they're streaming. I think they continue that idea, but it's more like, well, this is your, you got your cable box here, and then you have your gaming box here, and just play games, and kind of like what probably Stadia is trying to do as well, right? They want to be a step ahead of that as well. So if cloud gaming, which is people we talk about cloud gaming for a decade or more, really takes off, they want to be positioned to do so, but they're not completely relying on it yet, not yet, right? Because VR, people are buying VR games, but it hasn't really dominated the market the way it was supposed to. The same happened with 3D. A lot of this stuff doesn't seem to take off. It's just there, and a percentage of people use it, and it's profitable. But it, like motion controls, it just sort of gets stuck in the 20% rut of like top, users, and then everyone else is like, no, we'll just do whatever we want. And so, talking about E3, let's talk about surprises, which there were many. I'll start with the fact that the surprise everybody got, which was Keanu Reeves being in Cyberpunk 2077. And it was like, oh my God, Keanu Reeves. And I'm like, oh my God, Keanu Reeves is going to play Johnny Silverhand. Yeah. Which a lot of people were like, what?
So, first off, I'm not incredibly high. I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk, but I'm trying not to be hyped for it.
Same here.
But the thing is, I'm like, okay, Keanu Reeves showed up, so what? Like, why should I care? I don't. Like, I don't know. Is he really, really deep into nerd culture?
Well, I mean, he is someone who has done a lot of
I know he's sort of like iconic. I mean, The Matrix, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, and all that. But I mean, like that
Johnny
was a while
Mnemonic,
ago.
yeah.
What has he done recently?
Wow, he's done the what's it? Not the Riddick the movies, John Wick movies, which are John Wick movie. The third movie came out this year, and it was a huge.
Haven't watched them.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, they're pure action flicks, right? That he's now become this sort of action superhero kind of thing, which has always been he's been flirting with for a very long time.
But I mean, I guess like he's a likable guy at least, and as far as I know, he's not like secretly a piece of shit person like Jim Carrey or something, like some kind of like, oh, he's anti-vaxxer or he's some creep.
Yeah, and I don't know if you may be able to romance him.
Probably not, because
probably not.
People are kind of speculating he's like he's kind of a hallucination inside your head kind of
or
thing.
hologram. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Why am I excited for it? Because I'm excited about the character he's playing, and I thought the choice was inspired. Right. I'm again. I'm burned out in a lot of getting hype. I'm not gonna pre-order 2077. I don't pre-order games or just order them. I already ordered some magic cards, and well, I'm happy with them. I'm like, I should stop getting off the crack there because it's gonna burn my pocket, a hole to my pocket. So Johnny Silverhand is one of the quote unquote iconic characters from the original 1980s game. He's supposed to be what's called a rocker, literally a heavy metal rocker who is, in the future, who is sort of fighting the good fight. I mean, he literally is the punk in Cyberpunk, where you meet the message and the character, right? Uh, I do, I really do, and that's the artist on the channel saying, "Hey, pay me," and I said, "Yes, we will." Because we do that. Because we do that. That's how we operate.
Oh, I love that answer, and the unknown.
Yeah, and he's a character, and that to me says again the focus is in bringing the Cyberpunk, which originally called just Cyberpunk, and then it got a second edition called Cyberpunk 2020, which retroactively meant that Cyberpunk begins the original was Cyberpunk 2013. I mean, all of them are pretty dated by now because we're kind of a Cyberpunk future, but not exactly like that, right? And I think I'm hoping it really captures, and that's been the thing that's sort of being excited about. It captures the essence of the Cyberpunk experience and the games, and brings up to a modern computer adventure, right? And if you can do that, and being done with other games like D&D and stuff like that, then why not Cyberpunk? Sorry. Sorry. Okay. But aside from that, I was watching James Sterling's Narcathon with Jenna Bain, and he was right about, say, it was Ubisoft. Like, Ubisoft, Tom Clancy. It was said 1,700 times he'll rise from the dead and come and hunt us. For
Tom
selling.
Clancy, Tom Clancy.
Yeah. And I mean, they're milking it for all it's worth, but when you don't have anything else, really, except for some awkward dancing at the end of your show, it's like, okay, yeah, but they're Beetlejuicing a real life person, Tom Clancy. I mean, a lot of the stuff that is written in on the Tom Clancy name anyway doesn't even resemble anything from the actual novels that he used to be part of. Sort of.
They used to be kind of like, is it sort of like government espionage kind
Techno
of thing?
thrillers, as they were called. Yeah, we're not. For example, it's not a game where you're creating. I mean, I would excited for a Tom Clancy game if we're like a run for, which by the way there was a Hunt for Red October game, but in modern day, or Red Zone Rising, where you'll be recreating a World War III in the 1980s. I think that would be awesome, right? And they're a European company; they could pull it off. But no, we just get more shooters and going to a country and shooting up bad people. It's Division, which is MMO lights and game as service, and I'm like, yeah, not for me. Not for me.
No. And honestly, that's a lot of like E3 this year was kind of like,
Yeah, I felt like we have to do E3 because we've done E3 in the past, and I guess we have to be there. Special mention also to Bethesda for actually putting a game in their game of Fallout 76, because hey, we're gonna have actual NPCs and story and things for you to do other than beat each other up, right? Because and mobile games, and I guess what's the name, Sky, that's not Skyrim Online, Elder Scrolls Online is still there, and some people still play it, so we're putting dragons in it because Skyrim, I guess. And there was something very interesting. It was noted that and it kind of, I think it encapsulates the whole problem with E3 and the industry in general is like, oh, there was an interview with what's his name from Bethesda. Oh, Todd Howard. Yes. And Todd Howard was like, yeah, no, Skyrim has been played by thousands, millions of people for millions of hours, but we don't have any more or further contact with the players, right? And of course, further contact means engagement. It means just people playing it and buying stuff from us endlessly. And I'm like, yeah, that's why people love the game. They just download mods from, and they put big anime titties on dudes and giant trains that breathe fire and I don't know, and they give sky walking boots to people so they can fly over the place and kick kids into the sky and I don't know.
I mean, that's just such a terrible mentality. It's like, remember when it's sort of like, remember back in the day when we released one complete product and maybe put out a couple little expansions and stuff, and then that's all the money we got to see. Well, now we can change that. Like a game that everyone keeps playing for years to come, and it's like, nope, that's not good enough for us.
We're gonna make you a gaming addict so we can get more money from you. Engagement.
Well,
like, no. That's not. Wow, yeah. Video games didn't have a bad reputation already. Come on, no, don't go there. Don't go there. And it's. I mean, there's so little to say about E3 this year. I guess it's a filler show for 2020, right?
Yeah.
When we have a new, literally a new Xbox from Microsoft. I didn't want to call it Xbox. I don't know what's going to be called. And
yeah, there really wasn't all that much for me to get excited over. I mean, there's a few games that look interesting, but no, not really. It's a lot like I mean, Outer Worlds, but
yeah,
I didn't need E3 for that. And Cyberpunk didn't need to be at E3. We already know what Cyberpunk is.
Yeah,
that's going to be probably a good game, a great game, maybe.
And it's not gonna be next gen because it's coming out in April, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
So technically speaking, my computer will survive playing that game at low risk levels. So I guess I don't have to upgrade right away. But yeah, I think the other game that kind of looked interesting, and we talked about this earlier in the program, was Final Fantasy VII. It looked great. I know some people are like, well, we don't have like turn-based combat, stuff like that. Yeah, but I like the actiony combat. I like the punching and the, and moving around and doing things. But it's episodic. So,
yeah, that's the thing where I get kind of caught up. It looks pretty, and then I think the combat looks like it's been updated for a modern audience, because I just finished a Final Fantasy like a 7 for the PlayStation 4, where they have like these add-on cheat things where you pretty much speed the game up at 3 times, and that makes the game bearable. I got through the game like in 20 hours compared to probably what, the 50, probably like the 80 hours it would have taken me to get through, because character models move slow, the frame rate's terrible, and a lot of it, like the mechanics are just so out of date and they're clunky.
Yeah, I mean, the original Final Fantasy VII, I think there was a right intersection of, 3D graphics, right, at the time, and an engrossing story, and it came out for the West, right? And I think that's the thing, that it became the big Final Fantasy game in the United States, and this is what was being launched for. I mean, this is what it's for the American market, right? First and foremost. Devolver Digital, of course, had their fantastic presentation comedy routine thing with tentacles and people dying in bad sprays of blood and torture, and because Devolver Digital is like, we just make games like the 1980s, pixelated and with a lot of crap on the screen.
They announced an arcade version of Enter the Gungeon, which was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think Devolver Digital they are, I think, now the premium AA publisher, in which they're big enough to be in E3, right? but their games are usually used to be called indies, right? But they have a lot of them, so they can pump them out very quickly. Or they gather from people who are making them constantly and sort of put them in their umbrella, and just doing that, and it's successful for them, right?
Yeah, they also publish like indie movies too.
I think there was something about Vampire Bloodlines, a couple of pieces of
Yeah.
news from that, but I tried to play the original and it was buggy as hell. And
I've listened to people talk about it, like review it, and that way I didn't have to bother playing it myself, and it seemed okay, but I don't think I'm gonna pick it up.
yeah, and that's another game that comes from the era of trying to bring to the video game role playing games other than D&D, right? Or D&D like games, right? And it was kind of successful, right? Another piece of news: the Star Wars game that was announced in E3. It looked okay, I guess, but there's being talk about EA not being able to sell it. And then I heard that Chris Avalon is attached to it. It's gonna write the Star Wars game. I was like, this is why I used to make YouTube videos on YouTube, because people just don't learn. I hope that Chris Avalon has somebody puts a good writing team with Chris Avalon. So like, Mr. Avalon, I'm afraid to say that we're not going to do that, because if that happens, you could have solid writing. He's not a bad writer. He's not, I think, as people think, the best writer in RPG. No, he's not. I'm sorry, he's not. But when you leave him to his own devices and give him a Star Wars franchise, we end up with KOTOR 2. And I played KOTOR 2. And that's all I'm gonna say about it, because I don't wanna get into a sort of a batting contest with people, and just like, no, I'm gonna tell you how horrible it is. Nah, let's avoid that.
And having just played like Respawn's Titanfall 2, the single player campaign, like that was a fun experience. So I'm pretty confident that the gameplay will at least be competent. I kind of worry about like if the novelty of it will run out really fast. And course,
yeah, go ahead.
And of course, like the whole thing that Jim Sterling pointed it out, like, oh, that little droid, it feels like that's like right for exploitation by giving it skins and stuff, and that's exactly what they're gonna do. It's like, hey, pre-order and you get some skins for this little robot.
Yeah, Star Wars. George Lucas. He started all of it in real life tat, so I'm not surprised. Another thing is that the story element is like yet another Jedi in between the Clone Wars and the original trilogy, who is not he's not going to appear in the original trilogy because, these characters, the original trilogy came out 40 years ago, 1970s and 80s. Yeah. And they're going to be dead or in exile or something. So you're going to see this, this guy did all these things, and then poof, because we got to write them out because they're not there. They're not going to be there.
It's the Force Unleashed. It's like, oh yeah, Darth Vader had a secret apprentice person.
Yeah.
To try to kill the Emperor.
And I think they're doing that because, again, there's an obsession with bridging the gap between the Clone Wars and the original trilogy to prove to everybody not the Clone Wars, the original, the prequels were really good. We just have to explain it to you how they really were pretty good. And I know there's a generational gap when it comes to people who actually saw the originals versus people who saw the prequels when that was their movies. Again, that's a long discussion for another day. But we don't want you to make things after the trilogy, because now we have this other trilogy, and we don't want to set up a legend situation where everybody's doing their own thing and they're not really talking apparently to each other. And we don't want to derail the current movies with yet another set of Jedi that were not recruited by Luke Skywalker to become part of his academy to get killed. So that it's becoming convoluted. The thing is, story-wise, you're asking me to care about a character that I know it's either going to be dead or inconsequential.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's one of the things about the Project 1443, I think it was, which was just smugglers going into Coruscant with this giant city and going to the Bowels on it. They're going to have their own adventures. I'm like, that's cool because I don't have to worry about these guys, right? They're not Jedi. They're not Sith. They're not rebels. They're not gonna change the galaxy. They're gonna have adventures in the Star Wars galaxy, and they're gonna have fun and get shot at and probably kill a lot of aliens, standing up for several human races that and you know racism. But and we're gonna do that, and that's gonna be cool. But we didn't get that project. Instead, we get another kid who was an apprentice who could have survived and but didn't make it, and it's gonna somehow either get murdered at the end or disappear because he's inconvenient enough to the real story that everybody knows.
Yeah.
So,
I'm still hoping he ends up with that one alien that he saves in the trailer, or potentially saves it. They're not going to go there. I know that.
yeah.
I
So
can dream though.
yeah. So basically, that's E3. We didn't see nothing from our favorite studio, really.
Yeah, that's the
BioWare.
thing. That's actually something that was kind of newsworthy. Is the lack of Anthem news
Yeah.
at E3. It's like, oh, Anthem's dead then. If they're
Yeah.
not going to even announce, like, oh yeah, we're still working on Anthem.
Nothing really. I mean, Bethesda talked about last year. We're gonna have another Elder Scrolls, and then it's like,
Nothing.
but yeah, Fallout 76. We're gonna fix that for you because
Yeah. So I mean, the announcement of Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6 was that all it was is just the, like
a teaser,
it was
yeah.
it was meant to reduce the blow for Fallout 76 at times, like, oh, it's gonna be an online multiplayer thing, but look, we're still working on single player stuff, don't worry guys.
Yeah, and it follows that pattern of announcing stuff extremely early, years in advance. It's like, why don't you announce it when you're ready? Because I can wait. Give me,
Like that's what they did with Fallout 4. Like
Yeah.
that's something I admire. It's like, hey, look, Fallout 4. And guess when it's gonna come out? 3 months from now.
Yeah. But I guess that wasn't good enough. And of course, Doom Eternal, which already had been delayed. And it's a Doom game. In fact, one of the things, again, Jim Sterling talked about is that all the games that Bethesda is publishing that are not Bethesda games look much better than the Bethesda games. Which is a shame because I always love Bethesda games. But there you go. So I would say, yeah, the title of the video is going to be E3 was meh.
Yeah. That, like, the only people that give like love to my PlayStation Vita was the limited run games, like direct video thing.
Yeah. And one final thing. The less we talk about Commander King, the better.
Yeah.
You do not put Commander King in a mobile game. Ugh. Jeez. Anyway, so that was it. That was E3. E3 was fantastic. And I was being sarcastic. This means that this year is gonna be. I mean, there's a couple of games that are coming now, but I think. Okay, here's the final. I think we should no longer look for E3 to be the defining event of the year. Next year is going to be bigger because they're going to have a couple of consoles come out, but really, no.
Yeah, and I almost kind of cringed too that this E3 might have unintentionally set like this bar that all the other conferences are gonna try to top it with the whole Keanu Reeves thing. It's like, oh, I don't know who we can get. Patrick Stewart. Let's get Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
And Patrick Stewart's gonna come out in like a walker or something.
Oh, he was in Oblivion back in the day. Yeah. I guess we can get him again.
Make an appearance like on the stage. Hi, I'm not actually in any games, but I'm right here.
Yeah.
Watch my new show on the
CBS streaming.
CBS Direct Access.
Yeah. So that's it basically. There are a couple of more games that were talked about, but to be honest, E3 wasn't the best showcase for them. So we'll probably talk about them when we actually get better news on it.
Yeah, and as a Devolver's Digital's conference pretty much kind of like was parrying the fact that like you don't need E3 anymore. Sony and Nintendo already have their Direct, and I think we're gonna slowly start seeing a lot of people move away from this. Just have like little direct video things like, oh yeah, like we're gonna showcase like, but stream this video for 30 minutes and showcase some stuff. And
I think what's gonna become is that E3 is not really gonna die. It's just gonna go back to being a trade show
yeah,
for reporters and and other people who are in the business, and now become this sort of pseudo manufactured, heavily massaged and manufactured gaming phenomenon. It's supposed to be because so yeah, we've been dancing around the fact that meh, just
meh.
just meh. So Chabomon, where can we find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Chapamon pretty much anywhere. I am Chapamon_Aragon on Twitch and Twitter, and I am primarily on YouTube. It's just Chapamon. This week I'll probably post a video on what I was doing last week, and at least something I did last week, and that would be going to White Castle for the first time.
Yeah. And you can find me here on this channel. I know that this week has been pretty spotty, but we are still playing BattleTech Urban Warfare DLC. With the Urban Warfare DLC, we're playing the campaign. So if you want to see cool characters and giant stompy robots shooting the crap at each other, and me scumming the hell out of the games, then by all means join us. And of course, support what we do here in the podcast and the channel by following, subscribing, joining the chat, asking to join the Discord because we have a Discord. And did I mention subbing? Subbing is good too. And dropping some bits. And of course, you can also go to Anna the Unknown channel. She has a Discord and she has a her own channel. Support her as well because she does fantastic work for this channel and also other things. So thank you everybody for coming. Apologies for the late start, but we will see you when we see you. Bye bye everybody.
Bye.